The following program, The Russ Belville Show, is intended for responsible adults only. We advocate to the repeal of marijuana prohibition for adults. We discuss the science, culture, and controversy about America's marijuana laws. We do not advocate any illegal activity and encourage all listeners to learn their state and federal marijuana laws. Opinions and claims made by guests and advertisers on The Russ Belville Show are their own, and The Russ Belville Show cannot be held legally responsible for their validity or reliability. Viewer discretion is advised.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth. Hey!
Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform.
I smoke pot and I like it a lot.
From the promise of legalization.
And I think that we think it can criminalize our marijuana laws.
To the agony of prohibition.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
The Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Yeah, I hear you had a question for me.
Now, here's your host, Radical Russ Belville.
We love it.
All right, good day, tokers and tokettes. Welcome. We made it to the weekend. It is Friday, September 6, 2013, and it's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. It's also got to be the busiest weekend in the Pacific Northwest for marijuana law reformers. We've got the Portland Hemp Stalk is going on this weekend at the Kelly Point Park. Our friend Herb Thrasher will be a part of that, as well as Brian the Red. They'll be working hard all weekend long. Some great acts coming out there. Ponyboy and Los Metawanos, we talked to him the other day, and great time to be had at the Portland Kelly Point Park. You can check out hempstalk.org, S-T-A-L-K, hempstalk.org for more information. And then, of course, myself and the 420 Radio will be up at the Seattle Cannabis Cup at the Fremont Studios, yes, in Seattle, Washington. And today we are going to give away two free passes, two-day complimentary passes to this weekend's Seattle Cannabis Cup. So if you're listening live or you're listening on the replays here on Friday or you're listening on your podcast, we will be giving away two free tickets. Very easy to win, and so stay tuned. We'll tell you all about that. Now, in the news today, some amazing stories we've got to get to. John McCain, the senator from Arizona who ran in 2008 for president against Barack Obama, came out, sort of, in favor of marijuana legalization. We'll tell you what he said and give you a look at his previous proclamations on marijuana throughout his career in our Behind the Headlines segment. Also on today's show, in the Radical Rant, we were telling you about that Utah drug testing for welfare data on a previous show and how they're spending so much money to try to deny poor people benefits. Well, the Salt Lake Tribune today weighed in on this information. I actually called the Utah Department of Human Services to get some of the data. We're going to talk about whether or not this drug testing for welfare is the success that the Salt Lake Tribune seems to be spinning it to be. Also on today's show, last night we were out at the Ed Foreman show, myself and Bacon Dan, and I always love going out there because we get a chance to hear the band called Them, the Band. Not the Gloria Gloria Them. This is Them exclamation point, the band exclamation point. What a knocked out band. We're going to play them for our Rockin' Friday today, so stick around. Plenty coming up on the Russ Belville Show.
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisers because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Everywhere you go in Washington State, things are greener than ever. Why? Because last November, Washington voters made adult recreational use of cannabis legal, which is why the High Times U.S. Cannabis Cup is coming to Seattle once again to salute Washington's historic victory. If you love cannabis, then get yourself over to the High Times U.S. Cannabis Cup on September 7th and 8th as the marijuana community gathers in force to celebrate our newfound freedom. Meet the businesses of the emerging cannabis industry. Learn about cultivation, topical oils, concentrates, edibles, and more. Sample dabs, buds, and delectable morsels of cannabis cuisine. Then rock out on Saturday night at our Smokin' Hot concert featuring Slightly Stupid and Redman. And of course on Sunday evening, we present the U.S. Cannabis Cups for the top indicas, sativas, hybrids, edibles, and concentrates of the great state of Washington. Plus, we honor professional traveler and outspoken cannabis advocate Rick Steves with the High Times Lifetime Achievement Award. Come to Fremont Studios on September 7th and 8th in Seattle for a historic celebration. Go to medcancup.com for details. Be part of the growing cannabis community.
Hey, Ellen, want a hit? Want to smoke a joint before trying this on?
Here you go, Ellen. You want to get high? We got some great high stick in the back.
Smoke. Kind buds. Sexy. You're gonna love this stuff. It'll get you really high.
This is your 420 Radio News for Friday, September 6, 2013. I'm Russ Belville. John McCain on marijuana. Maybe we should legalize. This from HuffingtonPost.com. Senator John McCain indicated he may be changing his stance on marijuana legalization during a town hall event in Arizona on Thursday. Arizona Daily Star columnist Tim Steller tweeted that McCain said, "Maybe we should legalize," during the Phoenix event. We'll give you the full quote and more details on John McCain's evolving position on marijuana legalization in our Behind the Headlines segment coming up next. Puerto Rico to debate medical use of marijuana from ABC News. Legislators in Puerto Rico are preparing to debate a bill that would allow people to use marijuana for medicinal purposes in this conservative U.S. territory, officials said Thursday. The measure would create a system to legally produce the substance and allow state health officials to regulate it, said Representative Jose Baez, one of the bill's two authors. It calls for a classification of medical conditions and requirements that would allow patients to smoke marijuana in their homes. Conditions would range from cancer to glaucoma to anxiety. The measure would also allow the island's health department to award special permits to patients to grow their own pot if they couldn't afford to buy it at an authorized clinic or if they live too far from the clinics. Earlier this year, a former Puerto Rico police chief who is now a senator introduced a bill that would legalize marijuana for personal use. Senator Miguel Perena, a former federal prosecutor and corrections secretary, said at the time that possession cases were costing the government money and noted 80% of inmates were serving time for nonviolent crimes. The bill, which drew widespread criticism, is still in committee. Marijuana laws in Louisiana should be more lenient, new poll reports from NOLA.com. Most Louisianians believe the state's tough marijuana laws should be changed, according to poll results released Thursday by Public Policy Polling. Of those polled, 64% said they are against the strict penalties for repeat offenders, and more than half said that they would be in favor of a simple $100 fine for those found in possession of an ounce or less of marijuana. More than half, 53%, said they would be in favor of following the example of Colorado and Washington in allowing pot to be regulated and taxed by the state. Those polled exhibited the highest level of support for medical marijuana, however, with 65% saying they would be in favor of seriously and terminally ill patients having access to it. Last year, a New Orleans area lawmaker introduced legislation aimed at capping jail time for simple possession of marijuana at 8 years and fines of $2,500. It failed 3 times, the last time by just 2 votes. DEA's pot seizures down more than 60% since 2010 from hightimes.com. According to the DEA's recently released 2012 Domestic Cannabis Eradication Suppression Statistical Report, the total number of cannabis plants eradicated nationwide have fallen a whopping 62% in recent years. In 2010, the DEA reported eliminating some 10.3 million cultivated pot plants. By 2011, this total had slipped to 6.7 million. In 2012, the most recent year for which DEA data is available, the total fell to 3.9 million, the lowest annual tally in nearly a decade. Groups call for DEA Hill hearings from Politico.com. A group of organizations is calling on Congress to hold hearings on the Drug Enforcement Administration after reports it attempted to cover up a program that used government surveillance of Americans in criminal investigations. The collection of nearly 24 groups, which includes the ACLU, Drug Policy Alliance, Independent Firearms Owners Association, and Witness for Peace, on Thursday sent a letter to the leaders of the House and Senate Judiciary Committees, the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, and the Senate Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee. The letter points to Reuters and New York Times reports about the information collected by DEA and efforts to conceal it, saying that it contradicts Obama administration assurances that government surveillance is not used against Americans and is only used for counterterrorism purposes. North Carolina Senate overrides vetoes, governor fires back, from the News Observer. In a week that brought Governor Pat McCrory stinging defeats with lawmakers from his own party overriding his first two vetoes, the Republican governor Wednesday responded by criticizing legislators. McCrory vowed not to implement a new law requiring drug tests for some welfare recipients until the legislature finds the money to pay for it. This has been your 420 Radio News for Friday, September 6, 2013. I'm Russ Belville. When we come back, we go behind the scenes. We go behind the headlines on the new quote from John McCain on maybe we should legalize marijuana. We will take a look at that quote plus his previous stance on marijuana throughout his career as a senator. You're listening to The Russ Belville Show on 420radio.org. We'll be right back.
You know Herb Thrasher from the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour. Now get ready for Herb Age Designs for the proud cannabis consumer. Herb Age Designs, lifestyle gear for the 420 friendly. Herb Age Designs, home of the famous lighter leash. Herb Age Designs. Get your Herb Age t-shirts and hoodies and show your pride. Herb Age Designs. We've got Frisbee golf discs and durable hemp gear. Herb Age Designs. We've got shot glasses, drinking glasses, coffee mugs, and beer cozies. Check us out on Facebook and online at herbagedesigns.com. And follow Herb Age and Herb Thrasher on Twitter. We'll see you at this year's Hemp Fest. Crank it up.
Michael Phelps, Olympic superstar, 14 gold medals,
20.
World record holder. So much for that amotivational syndrome.
Welcome back, everyone. Time for us to go behind the headlines. And I was pretty shocked to find this morning the reports from, well, that came in last night. It was a town hall meeting in Arizona last night, of course, Pacific time zone. So it took a while to get to the folks on the East Coast to write about it. But apparently Senator John McCain has, lost his mind in a good way. This is a really good bit of news that we're getting on this. And it has to do with his response to a question on marijuana. and whether or not we should legalize marijuana. And he said, quote, and this was tweeted out by one of the Arizona Republic's reporters, but the quote said, "Maybe we should legalize. We're certainly moving that way as far as marijuana is concerned. I respect the will of the people." End quote. Well, that's swell. That's excellent, John McCain. 2013, and you've come around to supporting the will of the people. And I don't want to, dismiss his change here. This is great that he's come around to this. I just want to point out the context of this change, because maybe some listeners out there, some folks that don't follow politics as deeply, may not realize what a huge reversal this is for John McCain. Just 6 years ago, when he was running for president, September 30th of 2007, he spoke to people at a town hall meeting in New Hampshire. And there's a great activist group out in New Hampshire called Granite Staters for Medical Marijuana. And now they've got medical marijuana, but back then in 2007, they were still fighting to get medical marijuana through the threats of and the vetoes of their governor at the time. So it was a really contentious issue. And John McCain was confronted by one of the activists from Granite Staters for Medical Marijuana, a medical marijuana patient herself, who asked him about his support. We've got that video, so I want to take you back now to 2007. This was John McCain's response just 6 years ago, and not to legalization, but to medical marijuana.
And I'm seriously ill, okay? I have a lot of medical problems that cannot be addressed. And I'm also allergic and intolerant to just about every painkiller. And I seizure and anti-inflammatory drug that there is. One thing that has worked for me, okay, I've tried it. My doctors know all about it. Medical marijuana. It really has. It really makes a difference in pain management.
And McCain is walking away from the woman.
There are currently 12 states in this country that have medical marijuana laws that protect the seriously ill and dying. But we also have the feds coming in and arresting these people that are dying and are seriously ill. What would you do about that?
Well, first of all, you'll have to show me a case where people are going in and arresting people who are dead and dying. You'll have to document that for me, because I never heard of such a case, nor does anyone that I know ever heard of such a case, so it must be a very well-kept secret. Because we don't arrest people that are dead and dying. And so I would be glad to, and if they are...
to the hospital beds.
Well, again, you'll have to document that for me. That's not the kind of society we live in, and I would strongly disapprove of it. Ma'am, you may be one of the unique cases in America that only medical marijuana can relieve pain from. Every medical expert I know of, including the AMA, says that they're much more effective and much more better treatment for pain than medical marijuana.
So that was John McCain just 6 years ago, literally turning his back on a medical marijuana patient to walk away from her, as she tells him it's the only option that works for her. And also saying something about arresting the dead and dying. I hope we're not arresting the dead, but we have many times arrested and imprisoned the dying. And before that, during his Senate career, now remember, McCain's been in the Senate since 1987. McCain distinguished himself as one of the most hawkish advocates for more punitive drug policies. In the year 2000, he told the Boston Globe he wanted to increase penalties for drugs, including support for a death penalty for drug kingpins. And back in 1999, he was at a debate in Dartmouth where he said, quote, "I can't support the legalization of marijuana. Scientific evidence indicates that it is a gateway drug," end quote. In fact, McCain even once claimed that we were winning the war on drugs during the Nancy Reagan Just Say No years, and we should go back to just that. Well, good for you, John McCain, for turning around and saying, quote, "Maybe we should legalize. We're certainly moving that way as far as marijuana is concerned. I respect the will of the people. It looks like it only took 20 medical marijuana states, 2 marijuana legalization states, a dozen or so polls indicating majority support for legalization, many, many, many more polls showing super majority support for medical marijuana legalization, and his own daughter, Meghan McCain, coming out in support for legalization and admitting that she herself had smoked pot in New Orleans, has research on the issue. Finally, it took all that to get one sitting U.S. senator to change his mind and consider legalization. 1 down, 59 to go. All right, and that fine sound means that it is time for us to take our 20 after break, get ourselves ready for the weekend. Tonight, we will be at the world-famous Cannabis Cafe, Herb Thrasher Live. Tune in and check us out.
Oh, have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. If he said he swam to China, he would sell you South Carolina. Then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
Have you considered medical marijuana? Double-blind, peer-reviewed studies have found cannabinoid therapies to be successful in treating the symptoms of Alzheimer's disease, ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, brain cancer, chronic pain, diabetes mellitus, dystonia, fibromyalgia, GI disorders, hepatitis C, HIV/AIDS, hypertension, incontinence, MRSA, multiple sclerosis, osteoporosis, pruritus, rheumatoid arthritis, sleep apnea, and Tourette's syndrome, as well as anecdotal evidence in suggesting relief from anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress, plus reduction in the need for narcotic painkillers. Side effects from medical marijuana can include euphoria, relaxation, anxiety, panic reaction, paranoia, tachycardia, dry eyes, dry mouth, concentration and reaction time impairments, appetite increase, and in some U.S. states, arrest and incarceration. But medical marijuana is non-toxic and cannot cause overdose. Medical marijuana, it's not for everyone, but ask your doctor if medical marijuana may be right for you.
The Russ Belville Show brings you the best in daily toker tunes every weekday. Each day features a different genre, including Roots Monday,
Folks, here's a story about Minnie the Moocher,
Electric Tuesday, Irie Wednesday,
Summer ganja planter, call me the ganja farmer.
Groovin' Thursday,
Do you wanna get high?
and Rockin' Friday.
Like to hit the ball.
Then on weekends, we mix them all together in our weekend music party. Everyone knows music and marijuana go together, so let's wind up our 20 after break with the Russ Belville Show's Daily Toker Tunes, the best in pod-safe 420 music from around the web. Today is Rockin' Friday, featuring rock, metal, and the hard edge of alternative country. You can get downloads and more information about all our daily toker tunes by visiting music.radicalruss.com. Now, sit back and enjoy your daily toker tunes.
Welcome back, everybody, and for Daily Toker Tunes today, got to send you an apology from Herb Thrasher, who couldn't make it today. He's busy getting all the vendors chalked up and all their areas chalked up at the Kelly Point Park for the Portland Hemp Stock. So many events going on, my God. Portland Hemp Stock going on this weekend. Herb Thrasher will be that with Herb Age Designs, and Ico will be taking a lot of film for us. We're so excited. Our friend and just the dearest little girl in the world, Brave Michaela, will be speaking live on stage out there at the Portland Hemp Stock both Saturday and Sunday. It's her public speaking debut at just 8 years old. She is going to just melt hearts. I'm so jealous. I wish I could be there, but we will get the film of that from Ico and many other people that will be speaking and performing at this weekend's Portland Hemp Stock. You can check out hempstalk.org, STALK, hempstalk.org for more information on that. I'll be at the Seattle Cannabis Cup this weekend, and for information on that, you can go to medcancup.com. We'll be doing our live show there, doing our 420 radio drug test, giving away all sorts of prizes, and having a lot of fun. So in the next segment, we'll talk a little bit more about that. But right now, I want to talk about last night, because last night, our good friend Bacon Dan, our Tuesday music editor, took me out to the Ed Foreman show where I appeared for, I don't know, the 7th or 8th time I've been on this show. Ed Foreman is a character that is kind of a 70s disco pimp talk show host, if you will. And he runs it in this basement bar called Al's Den. It's a live show with a live band that is like a late night talk show with comedy skits and interviews and so forth. And a lot of drinking games. Anyway, one of the highlights of going on to the Ed Foreman show is getting to see his band, which is a little 3-piece most of the time. Sometimes they have some other musicians sitting in, but a 3-piece bass, drums, and keyboard called Them, the Band. Not to be confused with Them, the Irish rock group that did the song Gloria back in the 60s. Them, the Band, has exclamation points. And they are led by bass player J.P. Downing, who, I've got to tell you, women with children have been sexually satisfied all throughout the Portland area because this guy's a motherfucker. God damn, can he play bass? I am in awe of JP, and their drummer is knocked out as well, and their keyboard player, just a phenomenon. So we're going to give you this song from Them, the Band. It's their cover of the Isley Brothers, It's Your Thing.
Who is it?
It's me, Dave. Open up, man. I got the stuff.
Who is it?
It's me, Dave, man. Open up. I got the stuff.
Who?
It's Dave, man. Open up. I think the cops saw me come in here.
Who is it?
It's Dave, man. Will you open up? I got the stuff with me.
Who?
Dave, man. Open up.
Dave?
Yeah, Dave. Come on, man. Open up. I think the cops saw me.
Dave's not here.
Open up the door. It's Dave.
Who?
Dave. D-A-V-E. Will you open up the goddamn door? Yeah, Dave.
Dave?
Right, man. Dave. Now, will you open up the door?
Is crack worse for a person than marijuana?
I believe all illegal drugs are bad.
Is methamphetamine worse for somebody's health than marijuana?
I don't think any illegal drug
Is
good.
heroin worse for someone's health than marijuana?
Again, all
I mean, either
drugs, they're
yes,
illegal
no, or
drugs.
I don't know. I mean, if you don't know, you can look this up. You should know this as the chief administrator for the Drug Enforcement Agency. I'm asking you a very straightforward question. Is heroin worse for someone's health than marijuana?
All illegal drugs are bad.
Does this mean you don't know?
Heroin causes an addiction.
Okay.
It causes many problems. It's very hard to kick.
So does that mean that the health impact of heroin is worse than marijuana? Is that what you're telling me?
I think you're asking a subjective question.
No, it's subjective. Just looking at the science, this is your area of expertise. I'm a layperson, but I've read some of the studies. I'm aware of it. I'm just asking you as an expert in the subject area, is heroin worse for someone's health than marijuana?
And I'm answering as a police officer and as a DEA agent that these drugs are illegal because they are dangerous, because they are addictive, because they do hurt a person's health.
So heroin is more addictive than marijuana? Is heroin more addictive than marijuana in your experience?
Generally, the properties of heroin, yes, it's more addictive.
Is methamphetamine more addictive than marijuana?
Well, both are addictive.
Well, is methamphetamine more highly addictive than marijuana?
I think some people become addicted to marijuana, and some people become addicted to methamphetamine.
You mentioned that your top priority, I believe you indicated to us, is abuse of prescription drugs. Is one of the main classifications of prescription drugs painkillers that you're concerned about?
That's correct.
And are those painkillers addictive?
Yes, they are. Very addictive.
Are those painkillers more addictive than marijuana?
All illegal drugs are in Schedule 1 are addictive.
There is a peaceful solution called a peace revolution. And now let's take back America.
Hi, this is Willie Nelson. Like millions of freedom-loving Americans, I'm a marijuana smoker, and I don't think that should be any of the government's business. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the responsible use of marijuana. The next time you light up, take the time to let your elected officials know how you feel. It's time we legalize marijuana and stop treating marijuana smokers like criminals. For more information on how you can help legalize marijuana, please contact NORML at norml.org.
Get the session started 'cause it's 420.
Since 1974, High Times Magazine has been the chronicle of the cannabis community. The Russ Belville Show visits with West Coast editor Dave Bienenstock for a look forward to the next issue and the next marijuana events in our High Times preview. Yo!
Well, we don't get Dave Bienenstock, but you do get a preview of this weekend's High Times U.S. Cannabis Cup in Seattle. It's taking place on Saturday and Sunday. Doors open at noon, close at 8 on Saturday, and then 6 on Sunday. And we're going to be there with a 420 radio booth that will be right there as you enter. As you enter and get your wristbands, 420 Radio will be right there alongside Normal Women's Alliance, Normal, and Normal Washington. So going to be a great lineup there of nonprofits. We'll have plenty to show you and teach you there at the event. We also have all sorts of our 420 radio swag for sale. Finally got some of this stuff made up. We've got stickers. We've got the 420 radio Russ Belville show drug test, or the drug poster, the your civil rights, the Bill of Rights as a marijuana consumer, the important information you need to know, and the new 420 radio pins. We'll have the pins there as well for sale, plus a brand new set of pins, the Russ Belville show pins, the RB logo pin with the cutout. Very nice new pin that will be available there at the Cannabis Cup. If you can't make it to the Cannabis Cup, though, those things are also available through our online shop. You can go to 420radio.org/shop to be able to buy any of these items. And remember, if you're a 420 Radio VIP at silver, I think silver level or above, you get discounts on the store. So 10, 20, 30%, depending on what your discount or what your VIP level is. So check those out. We'll have those up available online. We got all sorts of friends that are helping us out. I put a call out for volunteers to help at the booth. And among the volunteers who will be helping are our friends from the Seattle Hemp Fest. Velvet Mooncake and Emily Joe from Pro Go-Go are going to be there at our booth of 420 Radio. Now, you know I'm alongside Normal Women's Alliance, and you know how politics work. So it's not going to be go-go style so much. Not so much that, but more of, nice, friendly, attractive business style. So, you know me, I wear my my shirt and my coat and my tie, and so we'll have the appropriate dress going on as well. But come by, meet the ladies. They'll be handing out our 420 Radio cards and give you more information as well. Also going on at the 420 Radio booth, we'll be conducting the 420 Radio drug test. And the 420 Radio drug test is simply a Jeopardy-style game show where all the subjects are on mostly marijuana, some on some drugs, but mostly marijuana. We got 18 categories now that I've put together. And this drug test runs on Microsoft Excel. It's just really a scoreboard for you to run the game, and it allows you to expand by adding your own categories and own questions. So really, it wouldn't have to be about drugs. You could make any category about anything you wanted. It'll support up to 50 categories with 7 questions per category. If you'd like to get a copy of that, we'll have that for sale as well for download at our 420 Radio shop. So be ready for that. I'm still tightening up some of the coding on it, but we'll have that available. And it's really great for if you're having activist meetings, you're trying to start a normal chapter, SSDP or something like that, and you want to have something fun and educational, that's what I designed it for. So it can be played quickly with 2 individuals, or it could be a long-term game that involves teams of players, and you'll learn so much by playing this game, and you'll have a lot of fun doing it too. 420 Radio Drug Test will be for sale at our 420 Radio shop, and we'll be demonstrating it at the Cannabis Cup this weekend. Now, I also have 2 2-day passes, 2 comp passes to get you into the event both days. And, people are remarking in the chat room, a little late, right? It's like, yes, I apologize. I just barely received these this week and hadn't had the time yet to get them online. But I have 2 extra passes, and I'm willing to give these away to any of our listeners out here through a random drawing. And the way you can get in this random drawing is to get onto your Twitter account and tweet, send me to the hashtag Cannabis Cup at Radical Russ. And of all the tweets I see between now and the time I get set up and start broadcasting at the Cup, which is going to be about 1 p.m., at 1 p.m. or whenever I get up and going, because, it's kind of chaotic. Sometimes we have to root around for things before we get set up. But when I get on the air tomorrow afternoon from Seattle, I will announce through Twitter and Facebook and live on the air who are the winners of those 2 passes. And I can just email those passes to you, and you can come to the Cannabis Cup that day. So this is open to people listening on the live show. It's opening if you're listening to this on one of the 3-hour repeats. If you're listening to this as podcast, go ahead and send in your tweet. You got until 1 o'clock tomorrow to be able to do this. I know it's kind of last second, but that's why you get the benefit for being a loyal listener to the Russ Belville Show and 420radio.org. Another thing that's happening at the Cannabis Cup, and again, this is a Cannabis Cup, not medical cannabis. Anybody 21 and older can come partake and enjoy the cannabis at the U.S. Cannabis Cup this weekend. But here are some other things that are going on at the Cannabis Cup you should be aware of, because they also hold panels that are very informative and interesting. And the first panel at 1:30 p.m. on Saturday is the impact of social media. I will be on this panel talking about 420 Radio, of course, along with Jen Bernstein, who's the moderator, Bianca Barnhill, who's a writer and blogger, the podcast, my boys Adam Akadocious and Manny Blunts will be on the social media panel as well. So, boy, I sure hope I get everything set up by 1 o'clock, because I got to be on a panel at 1:30. At 3 o'clock, there will be a live taping of Free Weed from Danny Danko, the podcast that we replay here on 420 Radio. Will also include cultivation experts DJ Short, Kyle Cushman, Kay from Trichome Technologies, Swerve from the Cali Connection, and Drew West, the author of Secrets of the West Coast Masters. So this will be a great recording. They'll be doing it live at 3 and be replaying that on Free Weed, which we'll replay right here on 420 Radio. At 5 o'clock on Saturday, there is a panel on the art of edibles. This is moderated by Elise McDonough, the author of the High Times Cannabis Cookbook, but also features Allison D-Ray from Eatalu's Medibles, Kathy Parkins from Cannaceuticals, Rachel from Green Ambrosia, and The Kitchen Witch. So they will all be there at 5 o'clock. And also, we'll be recording as many of these panels as we can to get online for you and to show on future episodes of the Russ Belville Show. And then at 8 o'clock that night, if you're a VIP ticket holder, you get to go to the High Times U.S. Cannabis Cup concert. It's at the WAMU Theater, and it features Slightly Stupid and Red Man. It'll be a great concert. And those of you who are volunteers that have the vendor passes for the Russ Belville Show, you'll be able to go to this concert absolutely free. The tickets I'm giving away tomorrow don't get you into this concert, unfortunately. Now, on Sunday, September 8th, there's also more panels going on. At 1:30 p.m., a panel on the power of topicals, talking about salves and creams and lotions that people can use. Elise McDonough, again, will be moderating with Aw Warner from Cannabis Basics, Kitty Dunleavy Miller from The World, Famous Cannabis Farmers Market, Megan Schwartling from Kush Creams, and Kathy Parkins from Cannaceuticals. At 3 p.m., another Free Weed live recorded podcast for Danny Danko with cultivation experts Milo from Big Buddha, Brett from Apothecary Seeds, Aaron from DNA Genetics, Scott from Rare Dankness, Jeremy Miller from the world-famous Cannabis Farmers Market. At 4 p.m., there will be a panel on legal cannabis in Washington, and we will most certainly be recording this panel for replay on 420 Radio next week. It features Rick Cusick, moderator from High Times Magazine, lawyer Kurt Bale from Washington State, Allison Holcomb, the campaign manager who got I-502 passed, Pete Holmes, the Seattle city attorney, Rick Steves, the travel guru and big supporter of I-502, and then Vivian McPeak from the Seattle Hemp Fest. They'll be discussing legal cannabis in Washington. And then at 5 o'clock, Generation Dab. Bobby Black will be moderating with Addison DeMora, Kay from Trichome Technologies, and Derek Cummings. Then at 7:30, the High Times Cannabis Cup Awards Show, and as part of that awards show, they're going to be giving a Lifetime Achievement Award to Rick Steves from the PBS travel shows, the normal board of directors. Rick Steves will be winning a High Times Lifetime Achievement Award. Couldn't go to a better guy. So that's all coming up this weekend. High Times Cannabis Cup in Seattle, and we will stream live as best we can. You know the disclaimer. But I do believe we have a good Wi-Fi there indoors at the Fremont Studios. And worst case scenario, if we can't stream live, we'll record a lot of video and bring it back to you next week. Stick around. Radical Rant is coming up next. We're looking at drug testing for welfare in the state of Utah.
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisers because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
If you're an adult who enjoys a good beer, there's a similar product you might want to know about. One without all the calories and serious health problems. Less toxic so it doesn't cause hangovers or overdose deaths, and it's not linked to violence or reckless behavior. Marijuana. Less harmful than alcohol, and time to treat it that way. For more information, visit marijuanaissafer.org.
This is crack, rock cocaine. It isn't glamorous or cool or kid stuff. It's the most addictive kind of cocaine, and it can kill you. What's really bad is nobody knows how much it takes. So every time you use it, you risk dying. It isn't worth it. Look, everybody wants to be cool, but doing it with crack isn't just wrong. It could be dead wrong.
I have to say that there was one question that was voted on that ranked fairly high, and that was whether legalizing marijuana would improve the economy and job creation. I don't know what this says about the online audience, but the answer is no. I don't think that is a good strategy to grow our economy. So.
About nearly 1 million lives wrecked by a marijuana arrest every year, Mr. President. Politely tell President Obama what you think about legalization by calling the White House at 202-456-1111.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You want answers? You have offended my family.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth.
And you have offended a Shaolin temple.
You can't handle the truth.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Radical Rant.
All right, for today's Radical Rant, I want to talk a little bit more about a story we covered the other day on drug testing for welfare. I had delivered a story giving you the data from Florida, Utah, and Oklahoma. And the Utah data was quite interesting in that it showed the state had spent about $26,000 on pre-screening tests, these written tests, so they can get the probable cause. And then the drug tests themselves they issued on these people. And it turned out to be about $1,000 to catch per 12 people, right? $2,000 for each of them, right? Because they caught 12 people. 12 people failed the drug test. And it cost them about $26,000. And so a lot of media outlets reported on this, and a lot of commentators spoke about this, about how this is further evidence that this whole drug testing for welfare, punitive reaction against poor people is a failed policy. You know, it's grounded in this idea that we're going to stop taxpayer money from being wasted on drugs. We're going to help the poor people. You know, if they have to get jobs, they have to pass drug tests. So we're going to help them. We're going to do right for them by giving them some incentive not to take drugs by withholding their money from them, right? So this is the whole idea, but it just turns out that to pass constitutional muster, you first of all have to give these pre-screening tests that cost you money, and then you got to give these drug tests, and then you find so few poor people actually fail them. Well, it didn't take long For the proponents of these measures, which primarily are being driven by ALEC. Now, if you don't know what ALEC is, it's not Alec Baldwin. It's ALEC, the American Legislative Council, basically. And they lobby state legislators, and they put together bills, and basically they try to push a very pro-business agenda within the state legislatures. Right now, they have been pushing this whole drug testing for welfare thing, and in some extents, drug testing for unemployment. And so far, we've got 8 states that have passed this, and there are another, according to the National Conference on State Legislatures, another 29 states that are looking to pass some sort of drug testing for welfare bill, despite the fact that in every state we've shown so far, it costs the state more money to issue the tests than it would have cost to just give people the welfare in the first place. Well, this report that I saw in the Salt Lake Tribune today, actually it was published yesterday, updated a few hours ago, is the first I have seen where officials that support this kind of stuff are trying to basically make it basically making it a situation. I'm sorry, I had to check up on an email there from Utah. They're trying to make it a situation where these drug tests are shown to be cost effective. And so here is the headline coming out of the Salt Lake Tribune. Data is in. Drug screening of welfare applicants is a mixed bag. Well, first of all, data are in, but all right. A mixed bag, they say. A mixed bag. Despite the fact that in Florida, when they looked, they found a lower rate of people failing the drug tests that were in poverty than the general public. They found it cost far more than it was making. But it's a mixed bag, apparently. And here's how they get around to mixed bag. Data from Utah's first year of screening welfare applicants for drug and alcohol abuse reveal that the Department of Workforce Services spent over $30,000 on surveys and drug tests, but saved an estimated $369,000 in unpaid benefits because of the scores of applicants who walked away rather than submit to the scrutiny. Okay, let's follow the bouncing ball of prohibitionist logic on this one. Representative Brad Wilson, who's a Republican, surprise, of Kaysville, Utah, sponsored the bill last spring that makes this whole drug testing for welfare thing. And here's what the data show. From the Utah Department of Family Employment, the Family Employment Program, which is part of TANF, which is the, welfare. Let's just call it welfare. Agency data show that 1,020 of 4,730 applicants scored high on the screening, the Substance Abuse Subtle Screening Inventory, written test that's supposed to ferret out people who might be more likely to use drugs, the so-called probable cause they need to, seize their urine. So 1,000 out of 4,700 scored high on this test. So 20%, 23%, somewhere between 1 in 5, 1 in 4 aren't smart enough to figure out how to answer the questions on the quiz to not get, further screening. So of those 1,020, 466 were drug tested and 12 tested positive. Just 4 sought treatment. Now, the way this Utah law is written is that the people who test positive, or people that fail the screening, have to take the drug test. People that fail the drug test then have to go under treatment. They have to go into rehab. Okay, so 12 people tested positive. 8 of them said, "Screw that! I'm not going to rehab." And the whole goal of this, as the supposed goal of this, that the Republicans sponsor this stuff keep saying is, well, we're doing it for their own good. We want to help them out. If they've got a drug problem, my gosh, we want to help them out. 2/3 of them aren't helped out. Of the 12 you caught, 8 of them would rather not get welfare than go to rehab. So it's not helping them get any rehabilitation. And certainly when they're not getting welfare, I'm sure they're just sitting around, not earning money, not causing any problems to anyone whatsoever, as they're all poor and homeless. They wouldn't, resort to crime or anything. But here's how they want to try to spin this. So check this out. They did the total of the screening costs and the drug tests, and the total was $31,566.50. So, yeah, about $32,000, right? So, here's where they get their number. Here's where they get their amazing savings. Some 247 high-probability applicants failed to comply with requirements and were barred from reapplying for aid for 90 days, DWS Public Information Officer Nick Dunn said. Because the average three-person household receives $498 per month in cash assistance, agency officials calculated that the total cost savings for the 247 turned-away applicants and their dependent children was $123,000 a month, or $369,000 for the 3-month period they were prohibited from reapplying. So because 247 people wouldn't take a drug test after the screening came through, they're counting that as $370,000 worth of savings of money they didn't pay to these guys who would have gotten welfare. Now, first of all, it's confusing me a little bit why not giving money to people who are demonstrably poor when the program is for that purpose. How saving money by not giving them that money is actually a success. It sounds to me like we would be cheering the money we would save not paying the fire department to put out fires in poor people's houses. You know, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. The money we would save in emergency rooms if we didn't treat the poor people that came into them. The purpose of a TANF program, a welfare program, is to give some people some bare minimum level of social safety net. And that helps us all. Just like putting out the fires at the poor person's house keeps your house from burning down. Just like treating the people in the emergency room keeps them from infecting you or being dead and, disabled on the streets to a greater extent than they are now. Just like those programs help you, even though they're helping poor people, giving the people the welfare, this bare minimum social safety net, prevents them from descending into even further desperation and chaos that would lead to further drug use, that would lead to further crime. Now, I called DWS Public Information Officer Nick Dunn today and emailed him, and that's why I was checking on his response, because I wanted to know that this data really doesn't make much sense unless we know how many people applied for welfare in the previous years. Did more people or fewer people apply? And did fewer people start to apply month by month as the word of drug testing spread? Nick was really, really eager to get me all that information, but he just emailed me back to say, saw you're a radio guy, not with a newspaper. When do you need the info? Interesting. Well, he says he'll get the data to me. I wonder if he Googled me and found out who I was. Wouldn't want to make his data look bad, would I? Hey, that's all the time we got here for today. Thanks for joining us. Tonight, we're live at the Cannabis Cafe at 8 p.m. Pacific Time. I'm Radical Russ. Until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it,